So, how did the vampire clans function in Kane's empire? This is a very unique idea and question to dive into. You see, we kind of understand a glimpse of exactly how the clans worked, but we don't really see it take place. Now, that in of itself is pretty much the main reason why I do Legacy of Kain lore, because a lot of it is just stated, but most of the time we do not see it, because again, it's all about interpretation. We have to look at who is relaying these messages. We have to look at, are they trustworthy? Are they biased? And this, we have multiple people who talk about the way the vampire clans worked. So we're going to use all their different versions and compile them together for our interpretation. So, without further ado, how did the vampire clans function inside Kane's empire? Originally, we can see this in Blood Omen 2, is that Kane does not have a mind for usual tactics. We just see him pretty much charge at his opponents with waves and waves of vampires because, well, the vampires have a superiority complex. Humans have armor, swords, and shields. Vampires have their own innate magic, their own strength, their own fangs and claws. They really have no equal in their eyes. So when we see how the vampire clans functioned as a military unit, we see that they were described more as legions, where they would just swarm their opponents and beat the crap out of them. This does not surprise me in the slightest, because, well, look at Kane. He's very egotistic. He's very superiority complex. And then we see his lieutenants, which would be Raziel, Melchiah, Duma, Terrell, Rahab, Zephon. All of them are just as equally egotistic. They find themselves superior than everybody. So when it came to fighting outside forces, like humanity or demons or whatever, they pretty much did it the same way they would fight anyone else. Just charge in and butcher them. Now there is a minor difference with Duma and Terrell, Zephon, Rahabim. There's a minor differences in how they conducted themselves, and I do have my own videos for that you can check out now. But we're going to really talk about just how do they function. So once they have taken over a place, or in this case they took over all of Nosgoth, what happened afterwards? Well, the clans put themselves to work. They put themselves in a dark renaissance, as Raziel puts it. In other words, they went into technology, they went into art, they went into sculpting, they went into a lot of sciences and industry that humanity has not yet reached. So this is very unique indeed. So it shows that the clans are very magically gifted, because we do see Melchiah's clan dive into a lot of necromancy spells and stuff like that. But then when you look at Kane's empire and you look at Kane's buildings, they're all beautifully sculpted, very beautifully designed. So it showed that there were flourishing creativity and minds within the vampire ranks. In fact, it could be that maybe some sculptors and masons who were slaves that were humans sculpting these architects may have been endowed with vampirism from their effort. After all, Kane has no issue with a meritocracy. He seems to elevate people based on their merits. As for his 6 lieutenants, he created them, so that way they would never betray him. What is very interesting, though, indeed, is that Kane seems to be open to intrigue and revolt within his court. We see this in Legacy of Kain Blood Omen 1, where Blood Omen 1, he even talks about how a certain king that he is helping out would have been ousted in his own court. So Kane, because he was a nobleman when he was a human, had a very ruthless backstabbing court even then. So now here he is with 6 lieutenants that he personally created, and he's totally fine with one of the vampire members having so much merit and so much intrigue that they can easily oust one of his quote-unquote sons. This is a very unique situation, and this is something that a lot of the vampires caught on to. And this is where we see a lot in the video game manual and also in Soul Reaver 1, where they talk about how the 6 major clans, Dumahim, Razielim, Terrellum, Rahabim, Zephonim, all of them, they would play intrigue and political games against each other, just to pass the time. After all, they blocked out the sun with their technology. They have everything they could ever desire. They have pretty much reached the maximum their empire is ever going to be. There's no threats. They literally, in the game manual, which is pretty cool, they talk about how they leave feral humans alone because it provides them sport. It provides them interest to see how these feral humans will try to scheme and overthrow Kane's empire. They find it amusing. So here you have a bunch of immortal vampires that are bored, and they're in the thousands. Yeah. Eventually what's going to happen here is some of the vampire clans start to fracture. Some of the vampire clans start to actually form miniature clans within themselves, but they still cling to their identity. So in other words, someone who is part of Dumahim may decide that he's such a good architect or such a good scientist that he should have his own clan. So that's what he may do. He may create his own clan with his own followers, and they may have their own special role. So they may be a bunch of Dumahim vampires who use alchemical ingredients to fight, stuff like that. But they still, if their clan ever is ousted or there's too much political backlash, they can always disintegrate their clan and just rejoin the Dumahim. No issues with it, because after all, it's in their blood. Now, just because they are a minor clan within a major clan doesn't mean that minor clan wouldn't try to overthrow it. It's been stated too that Malkaya's clan has almost been ousted a few times through political intrigue and otherwise military means. So it shows that, as I said, this empire is based on merit. It's based on meritocracy. So if you are weak, you can be ousted. If there is a lieutenant inside your legion that is so skilled that he decides to form his own clan within your clan, it is possible that his little clan can overthrow you and become the big clan. I find that very interesting, and the fluidity of Kane's empire is most intriguing. But either way, when it comes to the clans and the ways they function together as a whole, they pretty much supplement each other. You have Rahabim, the clan that's mostly known for their immunity to water, but before they were immune to water, they were just known for being explorers. They search out for secret passages, shortcuts, anything. Then you have the Zephonim, who is the spy network. They were able to infiltrate their own blood farms, and this way they can find out if the humans are plotting a rebellion before anything ever happens. They can also infiltrate vampires and see what vampire is planning on treason. This is interesting because it is stated that the Abyss, which is where Raziel is thrown into, is a pit for weaklings and traitors. So, there may have been a few vampire clans or wannabe vampire lords who may have tried to outright overthrow Kane himself. They may have had such a big clan, such a big drawing, that they may have actually said, fuck the 6 clans, I'm going to go one step further and just become the emperor and just overthrow Kane. And Kane whips out his Soul Reaver and smites the bastard down to show everybody that he's truly a dark god. I wouldn't put it past him. And the idea of weaklings being casted into the Abyss is very unique too, because it shows that if you were to, let's say, form a miniature clan and start scheming and stuff, but you're just bad at it. You're just really awful. You're an awful leader. You're awful at everything. You can't seem to stop an assassin from fucking up your blood farms and all this shit. Kane may just say, you're honestly pathetic, and whatever made you decide to form your own clan is just done today. I'm just going to throw you in this fucking abyss. That is very unique, and it's very telling. It's very interesting as well because it shows that despite the 6 major clans existing together, and they all are sons and descendants of Kane, that they cannot outright just give in to sloth. They cannot outright just relax and take it easy and just say, you know what, I'm taking the day off. I'm not going to think about anything, do anything. No. Because if they do, they appear weak, and Kane could just kill them right off then. Something else that's interesting too is that when the clans function, they all have almost a deifying view of Cain. They view Cain not as just an emperor, but a divine emperor, a divine being that they should worship, a divine being that if he tells you to do something, you do it. And I could easily see this being a very unique issue with some of the minor clans that would be forming. Some of the minor clans where they may form and they say, I respect Cain, but I just don't view him as a god. And here we could have some backlash. Here we could have some vampire clans who are more righteous, more pious, like Raziel, descend on their asses and just beat the shit out of them. This is pretty much how the vampire clans would function, in my opinion. And through my interpretations, it seems that's probably the way it worked. It was just a lot of intrigue, a lot of bullshit. One vampire who's been around since the very early days of Conquest may just decide, you know what? I am just as good of a commander. I'm just as good of a lieutenant as all these guys, so I'm going to form my own clan. But then issues arise. Besides that, this has been Free 700. I hope you guys enjoyed. Besides that, this has been Legacy of Cain lore. The next one we're working on is another Legacy of Cain vid, so keep posted for next time.